In the van back together. Wow. It's good to be like that.
It's awesome. That is same page. Or
What's that?
So what, you just gotta wait till after we get to her.
The weight got off.
And then we'll ask if any
A long time ago, we hired this guy, yeah,
Okay.
and then with Ken.
Okay, so at the very changes to this. Yeah. So just when we get there, after that article, yes, you'll ask. He'll be the moderator, or you should ask him.
But there was.
Entertain other business.
There, back in the day.
Then just say the website. And then you just. Okay. Say what you did, what you got going, what's still coming. A few topics on it in the works. So this is what it is for now. It'll get better. Okay. Okay, I'll bring the meeting to order. April 1st, 2025. Everybody join us in the pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the meeting. First order of business is our president could not make the meeting tonight. I would entertain a motion to have Gordy be president pro tem just for tonight, if somebody would like to make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Just everybody knows Eric couldn't make the meeting. That's basically why we need a pro tem. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? Ayes have it. Gordy, would you like to join us up here, sir? And I'd like to thank Gordy for stepping in and helping us out.
Morning, annual village meeting, April 1st, 2025. The inhabitants of Johnson Village Corporation who are legal voters in the village are hereby warned to meet at the Johnson Municipal Building upstairs in Johnson Village Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 at 7:30 in the evening. Local time to transact the following businesses to wit. The voters are further warned to meet at Johnson Municipal Building in said town on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 to vote the following by Australian ballot. Article 1, the ballot option for the reception of these ballots for Article 1 will open at 9 a.m. and shall close at 7 p.m. in the evening. The legal voters of the village of Johnson further notified that voter qualification, registration, and absentee voting relative to said annual meeting shall be as provided in chapter 43, 51, and 55 of Title 17, the March statute annotated. Article 1, to elect village officers as required by Australian ballot, and they are president for a term of 1 year, trustee for a term of 3 years, trustee for a term of 2 years, trustee for a term of 2 years, balance of a 3-year term, collector of taxes for a term of 1 year, auditor for a term of 3 years, auditor for a term of 2 years with a balance of a 3-year term, auditor for a term of 1 year, balance of a 3-year term. Article 2, will the village vote to adopt the annual report of the auditors for the year ending December 31st, 2024 as printed. Article 3, will the village authorize its trustees to appoint a water and light commissioner, if not, to elect a water and light commissioner for 1 year. Article 4, will the village authorize its trustees to set the rates of compensation of its officers and employees? Article 5, will the village vote a budget to meet the expenses and liabilities of the village? Article 6, to do such other business that may properly be brought before this meeting. Dated at Johnson, this 28th day of February 2025. Darrel Wescom, Will Jennison, Tourangeau Senior, bjputvain, Steven Hatfield, trustees of the village. Johnson, Vermont, Village Clerk's Office, February 28th, 2025 at 8 o'clock in the morning received the foregoing warning and the same was duly recorded. Effect, Rosemary Audubon, village clerk. So just a couple of things to bring up for house cleaning ordinance is anybody that's a village voter should be sitting in the middle of the meeting room here. Anybody that's a non-village should be sitting in the back or on either side. And the other one is because this is a village warrant meeting for village residents and taxpayers. And in years past, we've had to ask our department heads, such as Eric or Rosemary and the other three department heads, to maybe speak on the questions. I would entertain a motion and or a second if the body so desires to have a motion for the village voters and the department heads that are non-resident to speak if they are called upon for a question or if they want to make a report.
Sort of.
We will have a second.
Second.
I mean, a nomination and a second. Any more discussion on this motion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion signify with an eye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, and the rules have been set. Article 2, will the village vote to adopt the annual report of the officers for the year ending December 31st, 2024 as printed? Have a motion and a second. Discussion. Anyone with a discussion or question? Seeing none. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, please signify with an eye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Article 3, will the village authorize its trustees to appoint a water and light commissioner? If not, to elect a water and light commissioner for 1 year.
Make a motion, the board appoints the commissioner.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second for the board to appoint a water and light commissioner. Any discussion or questions? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify with an eye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Article 4, will the village authorize the trustees to set the rates of compensation of its officers and employees?
So move.
I have a motion,
A motion to allow the board to set salaries for board and employees.
do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All right, saying none, all those in favor of this motion, please signify with an eye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Article 5, will the village vote a budget to meet the expenses and liabilities of the village? Mr. Chairman, do you have any numbers?
I'm looking. It was a big one. Eric, do you have that number handy?
What is it, water and light? Go on page 20.
That's general department.
Right there. Okay, so. 1.4 million of this is straight pass through grant money. Just has to be accounted for. We have the grant money for the garage. The garage is being built this year. We're spending it this year, so you see a $1.8 million budget, but it's really a $400,000 budget. So it's a budget of $1,839,382
What page you want?
Yeah, what page?
on page 21.
What was that number again?
$1,839,382.
That's on page 21. If anybody wants to look it up to begin a discussion, which I assume there will be. We have a number given. Do we have a motion in a second to generate some discussion?
So
The number is, what did you say, page 21?
Yeah.
Page 21.
The number is,
So make a motion, the board sets rate, sets the what's the wording? Put a budget to meet the expenses and liabilities of the village of $1,839,382.
do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna speak up for the people who are sort of in my category of, as salaries raised, we're sort of at a plateau in our lifetime as far as what money is coming in. And as people have exited Johnson and the amount of revenue coming in from their electricity, their water, their taxes, declines, I'm still seeing a lot of money getting spent, and I know there are grants, and that's great, and I hope grants continue. But I want to ask the board to really keep a keen eye on how we can rein in our needs to the expenses that the people actually can pay that live here, because otherwise people like us won't be able to afford to be.
We have worked really hard on the budget this year. As far as my recollection, the only added expenses to the standard besides the grant fees was adding hours for our crew to do the skate rink, increases in wages and insurance.
Actually,
And there was,
overall wages and
Correct,
insurance
that
is down from last year.
yeah. But
Yep.
what was the other increase though?
Maintenance to this building.
Correct. So all in all, we haven't increased a lot. It looks a lot because of the grants in the garage work, definitely.
I speak for forward, for as we go forward, because as we go forward, those revenues will be coming in anymore. So.
Yep.
Kim, I just want to speak to that a little bit. I think that when we sit here and deliver about increases and the rate of increase for the taxpayers, that is foremost on my mind every time. So if there is an increase, it's an unavoidable one. Unfortunately, I think we've done well this time. Obviously, moving forward is always concern, but I think that the percentage of increase this year was nominal. Given the rate of inflation for everything else, and everything that we buy is, even as well as I do, grocery store, go to the hardware store. The increases are significant, and I think we did pretty well to keep it under control on this end of it. So, but
The things that come to mind are things that we get for grants for free or for very low price, but then are people thinking about, oh, yeah, but we have to maintain that, or we have to put money into it, yes.
that is always on my mind about where it goes, where that free money is not free. First of all, the free money is tax money, and that's still my money. It's still your money. The other thing, like I said, is the longevity of it, because once you have something, you then can't live without it. So when it needs to be repaired, you've got to pony up. So that's always consideration of every board I've ever been on. And yeah, that's good pointed out that people are still.
I'd like to also just add real quick that we asked to borrow money for electric bucket truck last year, and we were well under what we asked and got approved for. So we are trying to be very fiscal about a lot of stuff. And then and one other expense was the website this year.
Any other trustees want to say something for this question, or has not been said by these other people? Diane, yeah.
Is the village garage covered in this budget?
Yes.
So everything is gonna be paid for, and you're not gonna come back and ask us for more money to finish building the garage, or?
That's not the plan.
I think where the bids are coming in.
Can I say it? As it's looking now, I don't see us coming to the voters for more money. I mean, any construction project has twists, but currently we're looking at,
So
basically all, three different sources of completely grant funded garage.
is that
Yes. Yes. Yep, so we're gonna end up with a almost $2 million project, without really getting any of that money from village tax.
Answer your question, Diane, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have previously allocated the ARPA funds to that garage project, which is also helping.
Right, that's part of the grant package.
So ARPA was still part of that grant that you applied for?
No, it's just part of the grant funding suite that we put together for this garage.
And how much was that total? The
So-
ARPA, how much did we have in ARPA money left over?
This city of 400,000.
400,000? And then the grant was for,
I've got an 825 from commercial directed spending from Senator Welch. I've got 273 from the Vermont Buildings and General Services. Municipal Energy Resilience Program. For using efficient materials. And the local economic impact grant will take care of the balance.
More questions? Bob?
Yeah, I got one, and it sort of knocks off what Tim was saying. And I know, folks in the village don't have a lot of cash. Us included, we're doing a bunch of side work, trying to pay our bills, and we're running out of money constantly, and we just got rate increases. For electric, and I guess water and storage right around the corner, there's no more money. There's just no more money. For a lot of residents to keep shoveling out, for getting the same services, so my question to everybody and new trustees, whoever they may be. Is there a plan in working? Because we're gonna be losing a lot of infrastructure.
Right, we
after
need-
the FEMA buyouts, what's the plan?
We need growth. I mean, the problem that with the increases is because of the loss in users. It's there's two reasons. That's the reason for water and sewer. That's one of the reasons for electric. The other reason for the electric is the Vermont legislature. With their rate structured and the stuff with, their net metering costs, prices. Just for instance, this past year, my budget got hammered because we had basically the sunniest spring and fall ever. And spring and fall are when solar panels do their most work. So we lost a whole bunch of revenue to net metering in those quarters. It's stuff you can't, it's electrical, most of the electrical budget, we have no control over. It has to do with the PUC.
Right, I understand that, but in the past, we had also talked about doing solar for the village. Under village operation. And there's issues with that. Has there been any more research put into this? Because there's got to be a better plan, because this one is not sustainable.
Right.
What we're doing now won't work.
The current thing I'm researching right now is actually a battery bank system that it's not gonna generate anything. But what it is gonna do is peak shave. And the loadings and the peaks are what really gets you on the rate you pay. So this will, these systems peak shave and they can become some resiliency for, brownouts and such. So that's where the current, look on ways to save is.
Right. Okay. I can't be any more clear. There's no more cash.
Right. Yeah.
The easy out is the leave.
But it's you leave and you're gonna have the same result everywhere else. Co-op's more expensive than we are.
We're
The simple fact
I don't
that
agree.
you were a trustee before, so you understand that we don't control the sewer plant, we don't control the electrical department.
Yeah.
They are what they are, pretty much. And it goes more than just coming to the village meeting. It reflects on how we're voting in the state of Vermont for the other departments, the state, the House and Representatives, Senate. We don't make the rules. We got to comply by them. You've seen it in the past. You know exactly what we're talking about. And all we can do is turn around and replace equipment at a cheaper rate, which we did. Purchase a cheaper skid steer for the sidewalks, which we did, for the general department and stuff. We can do as much as we can, but we're controlled by the state.
But to the lawmakers, I noticed that there's not one in the room.
There never is.
Because if we reach out to our lawmakers,
They don't reply to me. And I have reached out several times.
and they're still not coming to the meeting. Awesome.
So just to follow up on your electric rates, there's a analysis published every year on the average electric rates per utility in Vermont. The top three are always Washington Electric, Co-op, GMP.
Yeah.
Johnson sits in the middle.
Yeah, I crushed the numbers.
As a matter of fact, we sit, if you take away the other small municipalities that have generation ability, i.e. dams, we're like close to the least expensive because we don't have generation, but there are places with dams that can sell for less.
There's no place we could put it.
Yeah.
So on that,
Never know.
because Stowe, Hyde Park, Morrisville, and Johnson all run independently. But I know this is a turf battle conversation, but doing a united use union for power at least, combining all those towns into one. Has anybody really looked at the dollar amount that could be saved?
There has been most VIPs that we've been done some, looking into how we can do some efficiencies, working different things together. Yes.
And where are they bringing this?
We just started doing it a little while ago, so it's early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. More questions, comments? From anyone? Diane?
Are you guys working with, the select board on the Jewett property? Cause that would bring in more water and electric. Is that in your future?
There's nothing really we can work with them on besides providing them the services when they're ready for them.
So. is that being-
We have, Eric has met with them, Nate has met with them, we've given them quotes and prices for hookups and what needs to be done up there, but other than that, I mean, we're all for business, but that's not really in our purview to deal with the town's property.
But if they ask you to put in power and that's.
They'll be putting it in, we'll be taking it over afterwards, whoever does the work up there, we won't be technically installing it ourselves.
It's underground. They're gonna pay an underground service. They'll get a contractor. Actually, put it in.
And then when it would be all completed, Diane, then yes, we would take it over.
Yeah, but yeah, we've got a MOU committing to help them with that, so.
Yeah.
George?
Has there been any word, we buy our power from Catherine, I mean, most of our, how do you put that?
About 25 to 30% of it.
That's all?
Yeah. No,
And is there any word, is there any scare of that, will tariffs affect us, if you're so contracted, they won't affect us?
right now, the tariffs on energy are so small that they could,
Well, I'll say right now.
Right. With the current forecast, it could be like a 2 to 3% increase.
That's only 25% we're getting from hydro.
Right, yeah, we've got a lot of our stuff's natural gas out of Massachusetts.
That contract we signed is a 10-year contract, I believe, right, Eric?
I believe it is.
That all set with your question, George?
That was-
Any more questions, comments?
Oh, yeah, I did have one more.
Yeah.
About sewer capacity. Do we have sewer capacity?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Is there room to build in Johnson?
Yes. Bring it on.
Bring it on.
How many are you gonna build?
Haven't been many applications.
There has been some, the Willand Mills building a restaurant with Airbnbs over top,
So
so,
they're coming for allocation.
oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's,
How about all the new landfill? Does anybody come and
there's,
see about development? I mean, I know-
yep, there's, I'm working on it, River Road just sold to another owner. It went from Tatros to someone else that's putting in apartments there.
And we'd
New apartment?
Yeah.
we'd already allocated for that though, correct, Eric?
Yes.
How many apartments?
I think they said 8
I think so.
when
Yeah.
we were approached, but.
What?
That was 2 years
Yeah, I
ago.
would imagine they'll get a steep growth there because, I mean, just a matter of name. The banks opened up a couple of times, I think it's the article. But we have capacity, yeah, even before
Absolutely.
the sewer plants,
It's,
sewer plants get rebuilt. or-
sewer plant is getting rebuilt one way or the other, whether it be there or here.
There being,
Where it's at.
oh, yeah, back.
And, you know, but is even in its blanket heat plant mode that it's in right now, it's actually turning out
Capacity.
a phenomenal effort. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And it's, we lost a number of customers, people flooding, I mean,
yes,
yes, and the college is down, of course.
college is using less, there's less people using
So that is,
the grocery store, there's a lot of, you know, so
a lot.
when less people are, you know, growing, people have to grow harder. It's the unfortunate truth.
Yeah, well, I think we'll see more, I think we'll see growth, I think growth is coming.
I mean, there,
If somebody wants to build, they have to come and get permits, is that how it's, you know?
Well,
Capacity.
you have to get applications and such. And we are probably the least expensive water and sewer allocations around, so we're welcoming growth.
And how about for expansion, like an existing building, you want to put another apartment in, is that, you have to go by allocation?
You have to get an expansion, yep. Yep.
Any more? One wants, more choice. Anybody know the final number? 1,839,382 is your vote. All those in favor of this motion, signify with an eye.
Aye.
Vote opposed. The ayes have it. Article 6. To do such other business as may properly be brought before this meeting. And before I turn it to the floor, there's a couple of things I'd like to bring up, but only if somebody on the trustee board or somebody else doesn't bring it up first. I don't want to steal somebody's thunder, so. Right now, it's up to the trustees and all the people here in the room for other business.
so the other business? Yep, I have one, our new website that went live today. Yeah, it's up on the screen if you can see it. We have some key features on it. On the very bottom, the Johnson Elementary School actually has a weather station, I believe it is, up at their school. If you click on that, it gives you the most accurate weather for Johnson, since a weather station is here locally. And that's right at the bottom of the page. On the upper part, the links. There is, we have local businesses and resources. Resources is basically a local businesses. So anybody in the village that wants to have their business up here is welcome to give us a call. We'll put it up. Resources, we want to keep adding to it. It's for anything that any of our residents need, from capstone, food shelves, transportation, United Way, anything. So we always want to keep as much information up there as we can. On our main page, it also gives you a calendar for events that are coming up for us.
In some town, though, you have the
And-
library and
Yep.
stuff.
Yep, anything that affects our residents, we want to put up there, even if it's on the town side. If it affects you guys, we want to put it up there. One of the features I do like the best is on the main page, you'll see a little strip along the top. It's green right now. As we get warnings for flooding at different levels, yellow and red, we'll put that information up there for you guys. So you'll be able to go onto the page and see where we're at warning wise. So that's our emergency strip. If we have something going on in town, also a weather main breaks or something like that, we will put it up there just kind of for a notice for you guys, emergency notice. And then my own pet project was trustees. I dedicated a page to the trustees where it has the trustees that are on right now. And then underneath a dedication to past trustees. We've had a few that don't want to be a part of it, which is fine. But we are looking for pictures of people that we do not have. So yeah. That's about it. There's a lot of other stuff. I think I actually.
Did you do this yourself?
Yeah, I did. I worked with the developers and stuff, and I've been working on getting pictures, and it's been hard on the picture side of it.
But yeah, there's a lot of other key things. You'd have to go through and look at it. That's just like a kind of an overview of what we did here, but we tried to make it really, really user friendly for everybody. And make sure we have a lot of important information. And again, on the main page. We go to the main page, scroll down some, we do have those like payment portals. So if you need to make a payment, you can go there. The calendar's right there. Any documents, forms, they're also under documents and forms. We have everything. Latest news we'll put up at the top of the page, like Eric has right there. It shows all the grants that we just got. If you want to scroll down a little bit, Eric. It shows some of the grants that we have got, and as we get grants, we'll put them up just to keep you guys informed of what we're dealing with, so it's not blind to you guys, so you have more information. Scroll down a little bit. Upcoming events. We'll try to keep us up to date as much as possible. Of course, sometimes it might fall behind a little bit, but we will do our best on that. Scroll down a little bit. Anything new we're gonna have, so we have a library moving page. As a library moves, we'll put information there. As a garage rebuild comes up, we'll have pictures and information there for you guys. Same with the wastewater updates. So these are kind of the main projects in the village. We'll dedicate right here, just of course to keep you guys informed. Scroll down. And then all of our meetings. If you miss one of our meetings and you don't like going through minutes, you can watch it live. We have it right here, so usually within a day or two after our meetings, we'll have that up. And that's basically it.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So, I believe the entire board would like to give BJ a lot of kudos on this. We passed it on to him. He's lost a little hair. I'm sure Lydia's thrown stuff at him. It wasn't an easy project to get everything switched over, and I think it came out very well.
Yeah.
Thank you, BJ.
It does look good, BJ.
Anything else from the trustees? And or the manager?
Eric, got something here?
Well, this is Steve Hatfield's last meeting as a trustee. He has decided to hang up his spurs, didn't run for re-election because he had, as he said it, I have a choice of being a trustee or being still married. So he chose still married. So he's been through a lot. Did a stint as the chairperson and kind of as part of that de facto kind of Band-Aid village manager at the same time. So he wore a lot of hats and got a lot done, and just he's done great stuff, and I'd like to get around the clock.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for all the trust. The job was pretty hard at first, but it got a lot easier after we got this guy on board, and then after Ken took over, it got even easier, and with BJ helping me and everybody, so. It's a team effort doing running the village.
Steve, I'd like to thank you. I gave you a little bit of hard time when I first come on board. I think you and I have a new understanding of each other, and I think we worked rather well together for the last 2 years.
We did.
And I appreciate everything you've done for the village.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Like when we first came in, all the old people dropped out and it was just us, and everything happened all at once. Just called you old. All of us green people dealing with that, and I don't see anybody could have done it any better. You did a great job, and it was a pleasure to be your vice chair.
Thanks. Anyone else like to say something or to Steve or? Go ahead.
Gordy, what's the, maybe you guys all are not involved with, what's the status on the general store?
Anyone?
On the what?
Johnson General Store.
You know, Mark was in today on some business, the owner.
His name is Mike.
Or Mike, I almost said Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, yeah, Angry Mike.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask him that, but I got pulled away and, but it's in, oh, you got news on it?
Day before yesterday, he told me by the end of April.
End of April.
Yeah, I see you as hiring staff, so you must be getting it.
With a soft opening, probably a little bit before that.
And if anybody wants to help clean some of the coolers, some of the surfaces, please call them or stop in.
Anyone else have something on, yeah. Yes.
Throw my 2 cents worth, for where the sewage treatment plant goes, and I just think after all the work that's been done on this building. And also for the people who are coming into our village and town, that I would personally not like to see it here, I'd like to see it somewhere. Either a revamp of that or some more brainstorm, but I feel like this is a nice representation to come into the town and to feel like people can find help. And, yeah.
John,
There's a rumor, speaking of that this building was gonna move up to the college. Is this, well, all of you were gonna move?
There's nothing set in stone. There's a lot of conversations going on.
What would happen to this building?
If we were to relocate the offices, this building would go down and we would possibly put the sewer treatment plant here. To get it out of the flood zone. So there, I don't know. If we can talk about the block grant, can't we, Eric?
What's that?
We can talk about the block grant.
Sure.
So there's. Whole new process is starting here. There's some new funds showed up. Eric, you might as well take it. You have better understanding.
So. The plant in its current location is, well, in the floodplain. It's in the flood zone, it's just like, it's where the river goes. It flows. And it's, FEMA will give us the money, well, they'll, give us, well, between FEMA and the state, 97.8% of the money to build it back in place to current codes and standards and for hazard mitigation. And what that means is upgrading all the building materials, upgrading the processes to the current codes, and then bringing it upward, for flood mitigation. So that is an estimated cost of about $14 million. So that would leave us, that sounds like a huge number, but that $14 million is about $300,000 as far as the local match. Because the rest of it's FEMA in Vermont Emergency Management. They still haven't finished their 428. That's what they call it, study on what they would pay in order to move it out of the zone. It's a completely different type of project. But generally, what they do is they'll give you the same amount of money as it would take to put it right where it was. Well, to move it, it's going to take an extra about $12 million, which there's no way we're picking up that tab. So the only way for that to happen, to move it into a safer area, was for other grant sources to be there. And there's a community development block grant program that has $58 million targeted to Washington County and Johnson. If they originally thought it was Lamoille County, but it's not. It's Johnson in Washington County. So there's possibility for a grant big enough to fund the rest of that and pay for this to go elsewhere. So that's a possibility, but it's not,
But if this went elsewhere, you're saying you would tear this building down?
right.
That's the conversation, yes.
And so there's no possibility of using this above the flood level, using the upper storage for housing or anything like that?
No, the building would have to come down because the footprint would require this footprint.
Right.
So there's no mitigation between the two buildings. This would have to come down because this is where the plant would go.
Oh, it would not go back here.
No, that,
But
well,
it's under the moving project.
there's two plans. One is to revamp it where it's at, to bring it up above the last flood stage. The other is to move it up here to remove everything out of the flood stage.
Are they sequentially connected? Like, do you lose the opportunity of 14 million there, less 300,000 if you decide to do this, or can you go back and say, all right, this doesn't work, we'll go over here?
Yeah, we haven't committed to anything. This is just the
Right.
beginning of conversations.
Right.
So it's basically us throwing ideas out, the select board throwing ideas about a possibly move it. If that doesn't happen, the village hasn't stopped since July 23 when it flooded. We've been working on the project with FEMA and the state and everybody to rebuild it down there. We aren't stopping that project. We got 2 years into it, you know, so unless somebody gives us a definite, they're gonna throw us 12 to 15 more million dollars to help relocate the municipal building and to put the sewer plant up in this area, which it wouldn't go here, it would go in the parking lot.
Right,
But-
I mean, we don't touch this building, which means this building's useless.
This, I mean,
You know, the footprints overlap,
mhm.
you know, that sewer plant will probably come 4 or 5 feet into this building. You know,
And then there's a lot of other stuff that hinges on that. We can restore that area to a floodplain,
right,
which will help with floodwaters.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reasoning we're all considering the,
And so is the college involved in your discussions?
they are,
well, the state owns college.
but we also, I mean.
Yes, they're-
both Tom and I have talked. to
Correct.
People at college,
Right.
yes.
And nobody's even made a proposal to buy that building. This is just an idea that was thrown out by kind of all parties.
Is there a chance that this building would be donated, or that building, Martinetti or whatever? That since that's the state and this is the village, do you have to buy a building from the college? Can you just take it over?
It all remains to be seen.
The way I look at it, it's our building, it's not the state's.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, the state owns the building.
Right.
Correct.
And it would seem like an interesting thing to see if you could get them to give you the building.
Right.
Rather than having to buy it.
It's a tricky scenario. Bernie Sanders already dedicated $500,000 to that building to turn it into low-income housing. It's gone nowhere since he's done that. So there's a lot of questions about that property that's still yet to be learned. And
Yeah.
it's,
But making.
But the answer to that is everything is negotiable and it's early.
Right, but you don't close out one option by focusing on another.
we will not stop moving
Right.
forward down there until somebody says, you have the money if you want this building and you guys want to relocate.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
Because that could extend, just saying this, it could extend 5 years before something happens to that. And that's a pretty risky maneuver for the trustees to take with that sewer Franken plant, the way it is.
I think Dan would quit, it took 5 years.
What's that?
George?
Speaking of which, was there a result of, wasn't there a vote for a town meeting about the village and town property? And this going your own ways or something, wasn't there? Sure, I saw it.
It was a talk about subdividing the properties over
Yeah,
there.
was that on the ballot?
It was on the town's ballot. We
You know
did,
how that turned out?
it passed on the town side. We did not take it up this year because of the projects we have going.
Yeah.
I didn't think any of you would like us to come and ask you for money to have a survey done and subdivision done on that property at this time. I honestly think the larger portion of that property ought to go back to the tax base, and that makes more opportunities for residents to purchase property and live in this town instead of us holding 180 acres of trees and nothing happening to
It
it.
was the original town.
That was the intent.
That was the original, that's how it was sold the first time when we originally bought it, that's what it was sold, and then came back with a initiative to keep it, and that passed. I think more people are gonna be aligning with Kim's philosophy of, you know, why are we holding something, an asset that we
It's a
can,
good development property, good piece of property to develop.
absolutely. And we just have to get enough voters to agree with that.
So they said yes to, or they said no, and.
They got voter approval to
To go into separate the
I
property.
think.
look into
Look into it.
subdividing and get cost prices and stuff like that, but it's not gonna be cheap, so that's why I kind of talked to the board and we decided that it's not really a good idea for us to jump onto that this year. So if the town can come in with prices, then we could have prices to throw at you guys for next year.
Yeah, the property.
We're still paying for it.
Yes, that's why they should come up. with
That's why they
price.
should come up with
Yeah,
price.
because they were paying for it. They don't want it.
Kyle?
Yeah, I just wanted to say on the lines of the town and the village that I know relations between the two boards have been rocky for a long time, but it feels like it's getting worse. And this is a great case in point with the website, you know, there was, an opportunity to, have one developer, one site for both town and village, like in the past, but, it was decided that town was gonna pay for theirs and the village was gonna pay for theirs. So, it just feels like there, and that costs us all money, you know, and so I would encourage this board, as I encourage the select board to really think about the bigger picture, what these divisions are about, putting egos aside and working for the folks that you're representing in terms of keeping morale up for the town. It's never good when our boards are feuding. Nobody feels good when that happens, and also from a financial point of view. Because this costs, not to get defensive, but I just think that it's important that you hear from taxpayers that this, the more that you separate like this, the more that it causes all kinds of consequences. So I would encourage to, I don't need a response, I'm just saying that this is what I'm noticing, and this is how I'm feeling as a taxpayer.
Eric? Yes, thanks. I get that, and I think that maybe perception is just not quite tracking with how things are going. I don't know if you watched the last joint meeting, but it wasn't, this last joint meeting like a week ago. It was pretty cordial. And
I used to, the meeting part is.
yeah,
That's one incident.
a little bit, but overall it's pretty cordial, and the website change.
Oh, yes.
You know, we had the option going with the town to where they decided to go. But it was much more expensive.
So.
We did this on a pure, basically a fiscal decision to save a lot of money.
So to your point, looking out for the taxpayers, that's exactly what we did. If it had been cheaper to go with the town, I would have been all in. But when they came back, that was more expensive to go for the town, they would raise the rates for our village taxpayers. We opted out of that program and chose to do our own, which saved the village taxpayers money. So thank you for pointing out that we should be considering the taxpayers and the rate they're paying, because that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, our portion of the village would have been triple the cost of this. If we would have went with the town, just our half would have been triple the cost we paid by ourselves for this site. And we weren't even brought into that one until it was already figured out. We weren't even planning. We were just asked if we wanted to go with it and gave it a price, and we're like, it was sticker shock. So we went with the more fiscal the way.
Well, I'm saying from both sides, just trying to work together to bring everybody closer together.
I feel we have. I feel we've been doing really good with each other, but Steve or Scott.
The other thing, one is that, it's great that the town or the Cold Spring, the village of Cold Spring, before got done. Thank you, really, thank you for following up on that this year. One thing that could really, make it an accessible, asset to the people that use it is putting a handrail down the middle. It's really precarious to navigate that, for our older folks, and a big portion of the demographic that uses that Cold Spring are older people. So if that could be considered in the future, do that. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that I would be amiss and complicit not to speak out about that. I've noticed a real uptick in what this year, particularly in what I would consider to be white Christian nationalism that is sort of seeping into the village. First, it was at stating the Pledge of Allegiance at every meeting, not just your annual one. And then this winter, both trees here on the municipal property and on the village green got red, white, and blue lights put on them, and it just, I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's a dangerous one, and we're seeing how it's playing out on a national level. And I think it needs to, it's not appropriate, and I think it needs to stop. But that's my.
Some people are patriotic.
Yeah.
Sorry, we apologize. You may not be, some of us are. I apologize. That's your personal opinion and that's fine. Our personal opinion as a board, we are very patriotic. We don't agree with some of the crap that goes on and stuff, but we don't need to get into all the fine little, whatever. We're patriotic. That's just what it is. It's nothing to do with Christianity and all that stuff. So,
And I'd like to add, if you have a problem with the pledge allegiance, you can stay seated.
she did.
Scott,
Yeah, so heading back a few steps. Between the village trustees and the select board. And there is a lot of perception when we see stuff, unfortunately on video now. Where it does look like they're shooting, and what I learned from my tenure as a trustee. Mostly this is because of Gordy. We worked with the select board all the time. When we were tight with Eric, who was their chair, and when Gordy exited. Again, it was the general sort of fatherly push, keep it up. So when I became chair, Eric was on the phone with me right away. Anything you need, any kind of help, let me know. So if that does exist, and I pull myself out of politics as much as possible.
I can tell you,
It's still happening.
It is.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It is.
Showcase it, because as a viewer on Zoom, all we see is chaos. I know there's more to Zoom than just a night's video.
Right.
So
So-
when you're doing things with the select board, and the select board is doing stuff, you showcase it. The residents know it's not all feuds.
But as you know, it's kind of hard. You got 5 people here, 5 or 6 people there. The chairs and everything are intermingled and dealing with things, but there is gonna be disagreement. But overall, the general consensus is both boards are working together and are doing good together. There's just gonna be little issues here and there that isn't gonna be agreed upon. And like, it's just like a text message. In the text message, you cannot tell how that feeling goes and it's misinterpreted sometimes. It's the same with Zoom, unfortunately.
You have the newsletter that comes out, and if you're doing something that's really awesome with the select board, bring a newsletter. We had a great conversation with the select board. We came up with this novel idea to deal with this issue that was jointly owned between the village and the town. And this is what we did. We did good. And then that way people can read it instead of watching chaos. I'm doing credit scanning with you guys.
yeah, I'd just like to say something really quick. I speak to Eben daily, if not every other day.
That's not seen on Zoom.
No, I understand that. And then, and as far as that Zoom conversation just the other day, it was a member of the public who was following decorum, who was interrupting the board. So it looked chaotic when I asked him to stop speaking until the board could finish. So if that's what everybody's referring to, I'm sorry, but the board needed to finish the conversation before the public interjected.
Oh, 50 years.
Darrell?
Yeah. I would just like to say I'm very new to the board. I don't have any ill will towards the select board. I don't think I've argued with anybody on it. I think you're always gonna have, like we've all said, disagreements on stuff. But as far as people saying ill will, I don't have any towards anybody.
I just want to say, Scott, that you mentioned perception. And yes, perception is a lot, but there's another side, another way to look at it, another way to perceive things is that when the town and the village have a disagreement, it's because each one of us are standing up for our constituents. So if we have a disagreement with the select board, it's not because we're angry with the select board or Peter upset me or it's because we're trying to look out for the voters of the village. So I would look at the perception as going, oh, hey, they're standing up for us. And they're going up against the bigger group of people to stand up for the smaller people.
Right.
So if you throw that into your perception, it might help level it out a little bit.
Yeah, human nature doesn't allow that.
It's very true.
John?
Well, I'm thinking about the website. And the same way most of us end up reading the church news and the News Citizen or the community news or whatever it is. Could you just, this whole idea of so much of the news is negative and people pick on the negative. Could you have a section on the website that talked about the positive things? Like you're saying, well, a lot of people see things on Zoom and that's not what's really happening. Since you're all saying that you get along, why not just say that here?
I would also add, if I saw a few more of these faces show up at a couple of meetings, they might understand that that's not always the way it is. We don't have anybody at our meetings. So if you're watching Zoom 5 days later to figure out what happened in our meeting, you're way behind schedule. So I would implore some of you to show up to the meetings once in a while and inject these comments when you see the problem and not just at the end of the year, because then it's
Well, it's a
perceived.
It's a new website.
Yes.
Today.
Yeah, and on the website, on the very first, that first section where we showed the grants, that's actually called new news. So anything that we want to put up there, that happens, we can put up there, we can put up an article. What we find is we're dealing with 30 different things with that group also, and then like the two chairs are talking and everything. It's kind of hard for us to pull something out and to try to figure out a good way to put it out there, because we're so focused on all this other stuff, putting that little bit of positive information on a website where it would be a good thing. It's just really in the back of our minds because we're dealing with so much stuff. But it's definitely something we can do.
There's one more thing I want to say, if you go on to this discussion before somebody makes that infamous motion. Standing up here, I've lived here for a long time, as this gentleman eloquently put, in few words.
When he called you old?
Old, yeah. And, I've been through a lot of disasters. I've seen a lot of people years ago and even last year, this year and others. Some people in this room need some recognition. The first one's gonna be Rosemary Albert and her staff for all the things that she has done. And never says a word, but nothing's ever late or not done right. So Rosemary, thank you for you and your staff for all these disasters. Now for the next one to Eric, I want to thank you for being part of this team when you came on, and you've done a lot for, you're a big asset for this community, for the village, and working with everyone, and you've helped facilitate these disasters. So I want to say thank you to you personally. The other three, I'll gang them up together. I want to thank Dan Kopp for the sewer plant. You've been hit hard. And I haven't seen or heard from the trustees. I haven't heard you complain. You just go into work, you do your work. If you have to go in at night, you do. The state's not after you for NOVs. I just want to say you've done an excellent job.
Except for when he shows up and asks us for more money.
Well, Dan's been around. That's when you ask for more money when you're in a disaster. I want to thank Nate for you and your electric crew. You've had a lot of problems with outages and things on how to do restore power and do it safe. You've got a huge project coming up, and you're going to be spearheading a lot of that. So kudos to you and your electrical staff. And the last one is not the least, is he's my chief. I just want to thank RJ West. I want to thank him and all of his firefighters, because you never hear him complain. He just does his work, and he does it professionally and efficiently. He doesn't get excited. He's well respected by the firefighters. So I just want to say, RJ, thank you for you being chief for the last few years, especially in these disasters. Yeah.
For this board to do whatever it takes to get in compliance on the bridge where you have extension cords wrapped around lights. 4 months of not being in compliance, and if someone goes by, that's a big fine for our town. So please put that as a priority. Really soon.
It's happening later this week. It was short. Basically, we had March was put aside to move the garage.
Any other comments before I'll enter?
Yeah.
Not if you're not a resident.
Actually, I would like to just add to jump off of what Gordy said on the staff. If you get a chance, read the village manager report in here, and you'll get a taste of all the great things all the departments are doing, and the accolades they've gotten from state, federal, regional associations for the great things they've been doing. It's been quite a year for accomplishment across all the departments. Gordon.
I just got one last thing, I'm not gonna beat this dead horse, but about the not getting along on our last meeting, we had one incident. But I think if you really look at it, we backed the town in a lot of ideas that they were going. They come to us and asked Eric write a letter, and we all agreed. So, for the flooding. So I don't think it was all bad, I think it was one incident, that got really heated for seconds, but all in all, the meeting turned out really well, I thought.
Agreed. Motion to adjourn.
Nope, hang on.
Nice, still make a motion.
I would just like to, Eric, would you give everybody a quick update timeline on the library move, power outages, expected delays in power? This is estimate, nothing's hammered down, but just
Right.
so everybody understands that your power will be out for a while.
So it's the
26.
26th, Saturday the 26th. Oh, dark early. We're gonna start the library move. A large part of the village is gonna be out of power for several hours. It's gonna, because they've gotta move basically every line that's in the way of that building between here and School Street.
Is extra help being voted to do that?
Absolutely, we're contracted with Green Mountain Power with extra crews, extra trucks. There's a plan in place for contingencies. We've got traffic control up the gazoo.
And was that all in the library's figure?
Yes,
Don't put.
yeah, it's all on their grant budget. And, including the sheriffs and GMB and
Fire services.
our services, and it's a huge undertaking. It's organized by the town, but we're obviously very involved with utilities.
So we walk by there every day walking the dog and you dug a hole. And let them know.
That's
Oh,
town.
West Town.
Okay, but
Yeah.
so is that drainage? Is that? They filled it back in?
Call it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe it's so they get the beam work underneath.
I think that's what it's for, so you can slide all the beams underneath and lift it.
Now, are they starting late on the 25th? I read the 25th or something.
It's Saturday and Sunday.
It's like 3 o'clock in the morning is when they're gonna
Whichever
pull
day
off
it
a
is,
railroad.
Saturday and Sunday, last weekend.
It's
fine.
They're gonna be hitting Main Street.
That's what I mean, pulling off a railroad.
There's last year heard there, was 3 to 6 was the Route 15 corridor. The Route 15 corridor was, the opening was 3 to 6, right?
3 to 6.
3 to 6 is when it is the only time we can close Main Street.
But the powers went off at midnight, my understanding, right, Nate?
And hopefully when everything gets finalized, we'll be putting on the emergency strip on the website. We'll try it out.
And just so everybody's aware, it's not just power, it's gonna be your phone, your internet, everything.
Is somebody taking videos of all this?
Obviously.
There's gonna be a few people.
Yeah.
There'll be more phone footage of this move than.
I think Nate's request is we do not have a lot of people there, cause there will be lines down on the sidewalks.
Yeah,
It's
there will be no.
It's gonna be quite chaos going on when they're.
Yeah, viewing will be kept at a distance, just due to safety concerns.
What's the ETA over to School Street?
Late morning,
We gotta get across the bridge first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
late morning towards lunch.
My question is, how many light bulb wires are they taking out?
They gotta bridge the bridge to get it up over the light rail?
I don't know.
I think the rate.
We've been busy enough, just figuring out the power problem.
Saturday, Sunday, I think in the
The bridge will
Saturday
stay up.
night and Sunday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, we've actually
Do it, traffic.
asked them to put
You know, they're in school.
emergency pumping next to the bridge for sewer in case they break it. So.
We good?
I'll take it.
Go for adjourn.
Have a motion
Second?
to adjourn.
Second.
Second? Second?
Yep.
All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, signify with an eye.
I,
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Gordy.
Yeah.
thank you, Gordy.
You need any help picking up while we're having 2 people here?
Thank you, Daddy.
Maybe.